I'm going to call this meeting to order. I have a new custom gavel from Supervisor Tom gave me this morning, so I intend to use it. The only thing I'm concerned about is the flower today matches my costume, and I'll have to check with him later to see if I can put different colored flowers in there. So we'll call it to order. This is Tuesday, April the 6th, 2021, 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room at 1415 Melody Lane. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. And the first action is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you rise, Lisa?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lisa. The order or deletion of any item on the agenda is subject to modification at this meeting. Roll call. District 1.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Crosby is here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is present.
We have a full board and a quorum. Due to health concerns related to COVID-19, the board has suspended public group access to conference rooms located in county buildings. Members of the public who wish to attend these meetings remotely can call 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714, conference ID 278-617-693 #. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. To comment on an agenda item, email the clerk of the board at board@cochise.az.gov by 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. Please include the date of the meeting and the agenda item number. And with that said, I'm going to ask the clerk of the board if you've received any notes or comments about the agenda today.
Madam Chair, we did not.
Thank you. Call to the public will be suspended during the public health emergency, but comments submitted ahead of public hearings or specific agenda items will be read during the meeting. You may note that some of the attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, and this means that presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. The first is the consent agenda, and that's items 1 through 7. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam, I move that we approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 7.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. We now move on to the public hearings, and the first is from the Board of Supervisors, and it is a liquor license. Ms. Lemons?
Madam Chair, members of the board, this application has been reviewed and recommended for approval by the appropriate departments. The property taxes for the parcels are current. There have been no formal protests, and the applicant has paid the $100 processing fee. And
I'll
board
open the public.
staff is recommending approval.
I'll open the public hearing on this issue. Is there anyone who wishes to speak either for or against? If not, I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve a series number 6 bar acquisition of control liquor license application submitted by Mr. Kevin A. Kramer for TJ's Bar and Grill LLC, located at 135 Frontage Road, Pierce, Arizona, 85625.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. I closed the public hearing. I thought I did, but I thought. Wake up, man. Action items, elections, number 9, to approve a grant agreement. Lisa?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Before you for consideration this morning is the approval and acceptance of the 2020 HAVA grant in the amount of $68,174.33. This is an entitlement distribution grant from the Arizona Secretary of State's office for election-related expenses covered under the Help America Vote Act, also known as HAVA. This is a federal pass-through grant funding dedicated to elections. Cochise County has been a recipient of this funding source previously many times over the years. The Arizona Secretary of State, in communication with the counties, created a distribution chart based on the number of voters in each county. The amount dedicated to Cochise County is actually $136,348.67. It's equally split between the Elections Department and the Recorder's Office. There is no match. This grant approval is for the portion awarded to the Elections Department only. HAVA funds are specially dedicated by Congress for certain and specific election-related expenses, including security, upgrade or enhancement of voting equipment, audits, cybersecurity training, voter education, election official training, and improved physical access. There are quarterly reporting requirements and controls in place to make sure that this funding is properly spent. This grant will not provide for personnel or existing operating expenses. I ask you approve this grant award and accept the funding.
Any questions, comments?
This is a logistical question. The Recorder's Office, they don't come through us to approve grants. That's why their half is being represented.
Well, they're not here today. That's all I can comment on.
Okay. I was just wondering if they were supposed to make an appearance as well. Anyway, I love what you do. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
I have no further
Supervisor Chung.
comments.
Well, all
Or
grants have to
questions?
come through the board because the acceptance of the board is the acceptance of a grant. So if the
Okay,
recorder wishes to receive that grant, then it will come through the board.
so we'll see them later then.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions, comments?
No.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
I'm not
We
sure
don't
we
have a
have,
motion.
We don't have a motion.
but
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve grant agreement number AZ 2010-1001 from the Arizona Secretary of State's Office in the amount of $68,174.33 for election-related expenses covered under the Help America Vote Act, with the understanding grant administration will be transferred to the County Finance Department in fiscal year 2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Number 10 is to approve an intergovernmental agreement for immunization services. So before I forget, I'm going to ask for a motions before we have the explanation.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve intergovernmental agreement IGA ADH S 18-177676. Immunization Services Amendment 5 between the Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise Health and Social Services for an additional $1 million. Not usually just a number like that.
Right.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. So now, give us the explanation, Alicia.
Sure. Good morning, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors. Alicia Thompson, Health Director for the Cochise Health and Social Services. Amendment 5 is for additional funding for immunization services. We have been receiving funds for our immunization program through ADHS since 1993. And it has helped us to deliver immunization services to our entire county residents. The grant funds pay for management, staffing, outreach, and operating costs of the program. The purpose of this particular additional funding is to increase our capacity to reach community members in hard-to-reach areas with the COVID-19 vaccine. Funds can be utilized for staffing, materials, supplies, equipment, and travel related to efforts to successfully vaccinate our community members throughout our county. And this funding is particularly important because the resources it takes to take this vaccine out to hard-to-reach communities are much greater than the resources it takes to push 1,000 people through one single location. So we take the vaccine out to a very small group of people, and that's what this funding is helping us to do.
I noticed an article in the newspaper that the Chiricahua Community Health Services bought a new small van in order to be able to go out to places. Are we contracting with them?
At
Or
this
do they have a separate line of funding since they're a rural health clinic?
They do have a separate line of funding. There is the possibility that we will contract with them. Right now, we are concentrating on developing our own internal teams because of the complexity of ensuring that we get, so each of the Janssen vials has 5 doses, sometimes 6. The Moderna doses have 10 doses, sometimes 11. And when we're going out to a very small community with a very small number of people interested in receiving the vaccine, we have to maintain control, temperature control over that vaccine as it travels. And so especially as we're going out to our homebound citizens, we have to be very strategic in setting up a route that we will follow to ensure that we don't waste the vaccine. And so right now, that's our focus is on the homebound individuals. As we move forward and we see how the funding, how we're doing on utilizing that funding, there is a possibility that we will contract with an organization that we feel comfortable with taking the vaccine out to smaller communities.
Well, I participated in one of your forums when you were asking about hard to reach communities.
Yes.
And certainly you had more than just that one forum, but did you discover areas where we are lacking?
Yes, ma'am, we did. And we are working with our partners right now to set up the larger points of dispensing, like we held one in Fort Huachuca. One of our partners is getting ready to set up a point of dispensing in Miracle Valley in Palominas. We are also working with the partner to take a point of dispensing to Portal. And so those our partners are being able to do. It's the much smaller, like when we identify a group of high-risk individuals that haven't had the ability to get to one of these points of dispensing.
Or won't in the future, probably, yeah, so.
Right, and so that's what this funding is to be used for, really reaching very targeted individuals who have really struggled to be able to access the vaccine.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions?
No, just thank you very much for the fine work that you've been doing and your staff.
Thank you, sir.
Peggy?
No, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Next is to approve a contract for Rapid Trace staffing services. So I'm also going to ask to have a motion before we have a discussion and information.
Madam Chair, I move to approve contract 2120 HEA-01 with Rapid Trace for staffing services, COVID-19 case investigations, and contract tracing. Shouldn't that be contact tracing? Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that typo? Okay. Madam Lim, that contract should be contact, effective April 6th, 2021 through October 6th, 2021, with the option to extend as needed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, so go ahead with the
Okay.
explanation.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. My name is Craig Januszewski. I'm the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator here in Cochise County. So currently, and since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Health and Social Services Department has been using county staff to do COVID-19 case tracking and investigations. Health and Social Services requested that procurement issue a formal request for a proposal for this service, which is based on the IGA that was approved by the Board of Supervisors on January 4th. The procurement department issued a request for proposal 21-20-HEA-01 on February 10th, 2021, and 13 vendors submitted proposals. All proposals were reviewed by the Health Department and procurement, with the winning bidder being Rapid Trace. So we are seeking the acceptance of that contract to Rapid Trace.
So maybe for the record, you should give a little more information about the amount that this is.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. So the total budget is $352,000. And we don't anticipate that that would be used entirely in the first 6 months, but we have the option to extend.
Okay. Any further questions?
I have comments.
Go ahead.
I have read the entire package of material. I don't think that I need Mr. Januszewski to reply, but you may if you like. It goes from the proposal staffing plan I'm reading. Close contacts must also be removed from the population via self-quarantine. And I find that to be contradictory because the word must is imperative and self implies free will. So the question that is begged is must be removed from the population or else what? And you can answer that when I'm done with my comments. I'm against mandatory masks, mandatory vaccinations, mandatory tests, and mandatory contact tracing because of Fourth Amendment considerations. This is the scope of work portion of the package. Contract tracing certification. These people will possess strong elicitation skills. And each is educated smart with strong elicitation skills and training. So strong elicitation skills were so important to Rapid Trace that they said it twice, but I don't want my constituents to be faced with these tracers with strong elicitation skills under the authority of the county. I'll be voting no on this item.
Thank you. Comments, Peggy?
Just that our numbers are going down. So I would expect, and this is money that the county has received in order to handle the pandemic, right? That's okay. So the numbers are going down. So if we don't use this money in this way, can we use it in another way, which would be beneficial to the county? Or are we sewing this amount into this one particular organization?
Well, so this money is being used for these activities because even though we are seeing trends going in the direction that we want to see them,
Yes.
that may not be forever. And this has taken a number of staff from their regular duties and programs to maintain. And we've also had to solicit the help from ADHS to conduct a lot of these investigations and contact tracing, and not having the direct visibility and ability to introduce any sort of public health interventions, such as educating people, finding out where these exact outbreaks are coming from and have that deep relationship with the actual case investigation. We miss a little bit of that. And when the cases were just exploding, we had to get more boots on the ground. So we solicited that help, but this would maintain that capacity and actually put a lot more control into our hands. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but can I comment on some of Supervisor Crosby's concerns? So these contractors would be working hand in hand with us. We would not be handing over this job to them and say, go at it and just do what you want to do with it. We would be working with them, and our lead epidemiologist and our health department as a whole will be maintaining the same standards that we have been using throughout this entire process. So if that's not something that we have done up until this point, we certainly would not just allow a contractor to essentially go rogue and make their own rules. So that's not the intent behind this whatsoever. It's just to build capacity while directing control back into our own hands.
Well, it seems as though you have, or as Alicia has mentioned, you have other focus now for the health department and the staffing that you have. And so this firm is qualified to do that, to do the contact tracing. Any other questions, comments? If not, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed? Okay, Mr. Crosby votes no, but it is approved for the contract, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
State and federal legislation, I think that you've all been aware of all of the election bills, et cetera, that's going on at the state. The budget is a big concern. Do you have any questions about any of the legislation or any comments that you would like for me to give to the legislative group? If you've been following any of the legislation, I'd be glad to put your comments forward on our Friday calls. So anyone have comments?
Just
Yes.
one. I find the HB 2801 transient lodging tax is taxation without representation.
I think 2801 isn't going anywhere,
Right.
but I'll take that into consideration, okay?
Thank you, Madam
When
Chair.
when we meet next, okay? Any others?
I just want to recognize we're nearing the end of new legislation coming out, and there's been a border security omnibus bill. So I've been in close contact with the sheriff due to concerns in my district, and seen him speak at a few meetings, and he is anxiously working to make sure that if there comes a time whenever the county feels like we're under some
Would you
undue
mention the
pressure.
particular bill that you're referring
Oh,
to?
I do not know. I just know it's called the omnibus bill.
Okay,
But it has
because we need to
gone
keep
through.
this to the legislation that's before,
Okay.
not the. not
So
other
anyway,
comments.
Senator Gowan said that did pass, and that frees up the sheriff to get resources that he needs. So I think that's a good thing. And I just wanted to say when we need that, we've got funding, and that's kind of what we're about here
Okay.
as a board.
Next thing is county administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you've probably realized that our temporary neighbors are no longer here. They moved back to the admin building because that project was completed. There's still construction being done within the building to house the other occupants, that being the probation, the legal defender's office, and the legal advocate's office. So that's moving forward nicely. Also, I wanted to mention and thank the health department always for their help through this crisis that we're going through. Everything seems to go smoothly, and as the vaccines roll out, and the point to that is, we're meeting less and less, especially with the COVID stuff, and that's a good sign. So, and that's all the information I have for you currently.
Current events, reports from meetings, et cetera, Mr. Crosby?
Well, I would like to report that I will not be attending the LD14 meeting that is coming up.
Okay. District 2, I'll mention to you a future meeting because I'm pretty proud of the fact that we're at this stage with the Bay Acres Sewer Project. So we're having a ribbon cutting tomorrow. This wasn't a project of the county, but it's in the county, and the county has supported this. Douglas is the grant recipient and the payer because they've put money into this also, but it will be serving county residents in the Bay Acres area. Probably about 300 residents now will have sewer capacity that they did not have before. They all had septic tanks. So I'm very pleased about that. I'm glad to have a working relationship with the city of Douglas. The county has worked on the streets out in Bay Acres, so it's given the community sort of a new lift, and so I'm very proud of that relationship with the city of Douglas. District 3, is Jed?
I had a conversation with the Bowie fire chief yesterday, and he's very excited to have the vaccines coming next Monday to Bowie and San Simon, and he's working diligently to get transportation for people that need that. And I should be hearing today, and I'll help share that information. But that's a good community effort there, and they are the people that are interested in getting vaccines are going to have it available right on their doorstep. So thank you. I also wanted to mention that we're starting a season of carefully planned activities. The first one is not as carefully planned because it's a Westfest Ranch Rodeo. It's COVID on its face. Everybody's just out there, out in the open space, and you don't get too close to the guys that are roping and hustling steers anyway. And so families come and celebrate that together. That is the weekend of April 25th in Wilcox. And it also is a chuck wagon cookout, so cook off. So you could purchase meals for the chuck wagons, and they sell out every year, and the food is fantastic. I got to be a judge last year. It is something that if you just feel like you need to get out, and I want to share that with everybody who might be listening. April 25th is the chuck wagon cook-off, and just a lovely day, a family ranch rodeo basically, because the ranchers come in and they're the ones that compete in the rodeo, our local ranchers. And that it's a unique setting and a neat thing that
I
Wilcox
don't want to
does.
ask a question particularly, but would you mind adding where this is going to be? if
Oh,
you're
at the
alerting
Wilcox?
people to-
The Wilcox Quail Park Rodeo Arena.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
What date?
On
That's the
April
25th.
April 25th.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to butt in, but I thought if you were going to mention it, tell them where it is.
Yes. And I've also been reaching out to fire departments around the county for another reason, but I found it, or in my district, but I found it quite refreshing that everybody's, how we all yearn to be back to normal, at least in the fire department world. I found a lot of happy people feeling comfortable about who they are and where they are, and whether they've been like that the whole year and a half or not, I can't say, but I found a lot of good things going on clear through my district, at least in those, and they tend to be the leaders and the gathering places in their communities. So I was really happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the next scheduled meeting for the board is April the 9th, 10 o'clock a.m. And we'll have our COVID-19 pandemic update, Alicia. So with that said, I'll use my new gavel. This meeting is adjourned.